The immigration experience was good. It was definitely faster than what I thought it was going to be. People from Mexico, Puerto Rico, they were like, took me like 2-3 years to get my green card. And I got in like, 7-8 months. I mean, that was a shock. The immigration process was pretty easy. I didn't really do much, to be honest.
Well, a lot of it's also because, I mean, Farah helped. Farah, I know, helped with it, and Farah works for us. And, you know, we know the immigration process. We deal with this. You said you were born in Pakistan and you moved to Ireland.
Yeah.
When did you move to Ireland?
When I was 7.
So you had a Pakistani accent when you moved.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Hey, welcome back to the Only Lawsuits podcast, where we cover lawsuits going on around the country, along with moments in pop culture. Today, we have a special guest. He is a chef, currently in real estate, just came over to the U.S., Mr. Naz.
What's up?
What's up, man? Welcome.
Thank you
So
so much.
I actually wanted to start it off because you were the first person that I have ever met with these two combined ethnicities. You are Pakistani and you are Irish. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about like your experience.
Well, I was born in Pakistan and I grew up in Ireland. What do you mean by the experience? I mean,
Your experience being
growing up.
Pakistani,
being a brown
Irish.
person in Ireland.
It was it was terrible. I mean, you know, you're growing up in a village where everyone's white and you and your brother are like the only colored people there. So it's pretty tough.
Did you hear any slurs?
Yeah. Every single day you go to school and it's like something new. You know?
So when you said you were born in Pakistan and you moved to Ireland.
Yeah.
So when did you move to Ireland?
When I was 7.
So you had a Pakistani accent when you moved.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
You know, but I mean, you're that young where you don't really have an accent. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. I was just wondering if they were like, if kids would like make fun of the accent.
Like, hello, my name is Naz Ashraf.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, but it's something that you learn quickly. That, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, the Apu jokes were very common as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know, I find it fascinating because I don't think a lot of people talk about that. There's a lot of conversation in the U.S. Like about racism, and Ireland, from my perspective, it's like a homogenous country mostly. I would assume, right? Being white,
Yeah.
So to be a brown person over there, I would think that the attention would be like more amplified.
Mm-hmm. It is. Definitely is. But also I think it's just like the Irish people, like I don't think they're racist. I genuinely just think like they don't have that bone in their body where they think they're being offensive. Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
And I think you can kind of compare it to like certain parts, and it's gotten way better now than before. But I remember there was like, when I was younger, you know, used to be able to drive to like, we did a lot of road tripping, right? And in certain parts of the country, like you would get out and literally like you would just, it was weird. I remember when I was in, this was like maybe in 2016, 2017, I went to a like place called Lee, Massachusetts. We went for like a weekend, right? And I remember like my uncle had a Range Rover. We drove up, you know, it was me, my aunt, my uncle, and my cousin, and nice car, but we were like in like I don't think this place was like the best place in the world, right?
Was it a sundown county?
I don't even, what does that mean?
Sundown town, where like they're still racist.
He learned about this as he moved to Florida.
Wow.
I want to visit one. I want to go.
So I don't want to say yes, but it was like the best restaurant in the town was like Applebee's. And when we walked into the Applebee's, everyone was like, "Who are these coloreds?" And like that's the face
Look at
they
them
had,
there.
you know. So
Get them out.
like, but I get it. Like that's I think I don't genuinely think that people are racist. I think it's just like you're just different, and they don't know what to like how to interact.
I mean,
with
there's still parts of Ireland that we went to whenever she came over, where you walk in a pub and everyone's just gonna stare at you like, who the are they?
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
like,
And I mean, when Farah went, because I don't know if we introduced it, but Farah and you were married. When I asked her a ton of questions because I thought it was like interesting. And like I was just talking about like, you know, the food diversity, stuff like that, the cultural experience and how it differed from someone of Pakistani descent versus, you know, like how did you view it? So I thought it was interesting because tell us about some of the experiences you went. I think you went to McDonald's, you said, right? And there was
the McDonald's was like the same, but like everything else, like the food is. I'm sorry to the Irish people, but the food was bland.
it's fucking disgusting. It's so bad.
And he's the chef,
Bro.
So like we pretty much. He told me
the food
to
in
keep my
Ireland is so bad.
expectations
Like
low.
you know, the famine happened. There's no potatoes, but you're surrounded by the ocean. So how the f are you starving? Just eat the fish. Do you
wait,
know what I mean?
there's no potatoes?
No, the potato famine.
What potato family?
Irish
Back in the old
potato
days.
thing.
Yeah, back in the
Yeah.
old
There
days,
was they had no potatoes, so there was like a whole famine.
Oh, so there's
people-
no famine now.
No,
Oh, I was like,
No, this is like the 19th or 20th century. or something like that.
yeah.
oh, we're talking about like the great. This like comparative to America. You're like talking about the Great Recession. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Irish people, no potatoes.
No, but you know what? Food is actually a really, really great point about showing cultural diversity amongst like where you are. Because I remember because I've road tripped across the U.S. twice, and I remember being in a small town in Nebraska, and we had stopped at a rest stop. And I had asked someone, I'm like, hey, like, do you know of any great restaurants that we're going to be passing? And this guy, literally verbatim, he said, hey, man, I know 2 really great restaurants, and they're going to be coming up in the next like 15 or 20 miles. And it's where people go to have like fancy, they go to eat fancy. And I was like, what does that mean? And he literally said to me that the 2 restaurants were Applebee's and Chili's.
And chili.
Applebee's and Chili's.
That's
right?
a fancy one.
This is where people go to eat fancy. Applebee's and Chili's. And it was kind of eye-opening because I was like, oh, damn, like that's fancy to him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're over here like in Orlando. I go like everywhere in flip flops and t-shirts and bullshit. And I remember there's one restaurant that it's actually here in Winter Park. I think is it Houston's? What's that place? Hillstone. Dude,
yeah.
Hillstone. Oh my God. They got some a few years ago because like they wouldn't allow you to order a takeout salad or some bullshit. And like everyone was like either defending their like clothing policy or like they try to like keep this like high level of like, oh, you have to dress a certain way. I get it. And certain people pay for that. But it's like, I think the whole like fancy restaurant shit, I think it's so overrated nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
And we're a tourist town, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to have those types of like fancy like limitations on people. It doesn't make sense in Orlando.
I don't think so either. No.
well, yeah. And I mean, look at it. Like a majority of young people, like our age, right?
Yeah.
We're the new consumers. We are the people that are out there spending our money, right? And our incomes are pretty good. Our incomes are fairly well compared to what it used to be. And I'll listen, if you're going to tell me I can't wear a hat or flip flops or something to your establishment, you can right off. Like I'll just be, I can go and get chicken wings from somewhere else. And if you don't serve chicken wings, guess what? I'm not going to ever come back.
Yeah,
I don't
definitely
think
agree with
food and like, do you know the way they try to do like fancy restaurants that we were talking? I don't think food and like class should be associated with you. Like you can't have people walking into a restaurant who are only wearing suits and not allow someone else who's wearing shorts in to not feed them. Like, you know, it's food. Like you can't deny someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would just never fuck with those places.
Well, you know what's also interesting, if you study like the history of food and culture, right? If you look back in the days, there used to be like lobster. Lobster used to get fed to the poor, I believe.
Because it was a bottom feeder.
Yeah, and people actually looked down on people that ate that stuff. But now, like everyone, that's the fanciest thing, and you know, like people will, for the longest time, I had the gastric sleeve surgery. Before that, I never even cared for lobster. But now, like, for some reason, like, I do like it. I genuinely
you're
like, crave it.
fancy.
It's weird.
Yeah, now
That's
you're
right.
fancy.
Evidently, if you cut your stomach out, you become fancy, supposedly. But
Now you can't eat Chinese food. You only
Oof.
yeah,
eat with your pinky up.
yeah, my stomach is wealth now.
Quail liver for breakfast every morning.
Caviar or not?
Yeah. I think the whole concept of like associating certain foods with classes of people is so crazy. Especially like I watch a lot of food YouTubers. In like there's one guy that travels. I think his name is Sunny. It's like the best ever food review show.
Is that the guy that wears a bandana?
Yeah,
I know that guy.
Did you see the episode? Like, I think it's crazy. They had an episode where he was in one country, and I don't remember the name, but I remember they had like a Jollibee there, right?
The Philippines.
Yeah, maybe it was the Philippines.
Yeah.
But there was one dish, and I don't know if you saw the episode where people would go and like go dig through Jollibee's trash and get the like eaten chicken and stuff and then boil it and then refry it and make a whole nother meal. And that was like a delicacy to them.
Oh my god!
Well, no.
Yeah.
Well, and what it is that they, it's exactly that, but they serve.
That's how my wife cooks me dinner.
This wasn't about me.
Let's talk about domestic violence.
Let's talk about how I brought you here.
Yeah, but before we segue into that, what Mike is talking about is these people in the poorer communities. They basically rummage through trash.
Yeah.
They rummage through trash. I'll put the term of what they call that type of food in the Philippines, poor districts, and they'll just recook it for the people there. So,
yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I looked at it and I was like, I it's just something I probably couldn't do. But like when you look at it, like that's the one thing I really like when I think about food as a concept and classes of people. Like I agree with you. Like no one should ever starve, especially like places here, man. We have so much food.
That's crazy, and we have so much food waste.
Yeah.
In America, so much food waste.
Oh yeah. And I remember like back in the day, like there used to be like Dunkin' Donuts used to give their old donuts out to people, and then
They still do things like that, like Panera, Dunkin', like.
But I think they cut it out because they got sued. So yeah, lawyers.
Or maybe because of COVID.
Wait,
lawyers
they
ruined
got
everything.
sued?
Yeah, it was probably some asshole lawyer like myself that did it.
no, but it is crazy that these corporations, these restaurant establishments are more willing to throw the food out than to give it to the people that are most hungry. So
well, to
It's
this,
like sorry,
Go ahead.
Abercrombie and Fitch. They don't resell their clothes, right? They just burn them because they don't want like poor
'cause
people wearing their clothes. They don't want
Victoria's Secret does that too. There's a lot of designers these days actually that got called out for that recently.
because they don't want to be associated with like the lower class or whatever. It's
Ralph
bullshit.
Lauren does the same thing.
Yeah.
But segueing into the marriage experience that Farah brought up. So, Naz, you've just come over from Ireland. When did you?
December.
So December of 2023?
In November. So it's been a year. I've been
around
here.
a year.
Yeah.
So how have you enjoyed Florida thus far? What do you see in regards to like cultural differences amongst like Europeans and Floridians, and how was the immigration experience?
I mean, the immigration experience was good. It was definitely faster than what I thought it was going to be, based on like people I've spoken to whenever I moved here. People from Mexico, Puerto Rico, they were like, took me like 2-3 years to get my green card, and I got in like 7-8 months. I mean, that was a shock. But yeah, I mean, the immigration process was pretty easy. I didn't really do much, to be honest.
Well, a lot of it's also because I mean, Farah helped. Farah, I know, helped with it, and Farah works for us, and we know the immigration process. We deal with this, so naturally, you had guidance. You had competent counsel per se. Emphasis on competent.
Hashtag Kraken Lager.
Competent. We said competent.
Competent. Competent.
But no, like what But you came from Ireland, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of.
Well, I came from London.
From London.
Yeah.
So was it?
No, he's an Irish citizen, but he was living in London.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, so you had like 2 layers of an onion. You had like
He was-
Irish and English.
He was living in the UK for the last 4 years. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Working as a chef there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the immigration process was through Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were an
Yeah.
Irish citizen?
Yeah.
Gotcha. But yeah, but like, so it's weird. It's kind of messed up, but like in the immigration scenario, the fact that you said it yourself, you were really surprised about how fast it happened. That's kind of what happens in the U.S. Certain countries get preference and priority compared to other countries.
Yeah.
So is that kind of racist?
I mean, but don't Ireland and the US just have like this, relationship anyway? They're both like fuck buddies or something.
That is a really interesting way to put it.
I mean,
in regards to political alliances. So.
it's definitely not wrong.
I mean, okay, so when I came to the US for the first time ever last year, right?
Yeah.
Came from London, and when I came into America, the security checks and the questions that they asked me were fucking ridiculous. Like, what are you doing here? How long are you gonna be here? Have you got your return tickets? Da 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 da. But when I came with her from Ireland, there was zero security. Like,
Yeah,
it was just
there was no
walk right in.
There was
Like,
no. Well,
yeah, they didn't check me. They didn't ask me any questions. Nothing. It was just
on
like,
the way
walk
back,
right
they
in.
held me back because I had his chef's knives
Chef fucking
in my bag, and they were like, "What are you doing with this?" I'm like, "He's cooking Thanksgiving dinner."
So, but when that experience you had where they were really questioning you, was that coming through from London by yourself?
Yeah.
So, and I guess I could kind of around when was that?
That was last year, August.
I mean, the only thing I could think of is, obviously London has a heavy, Muslim population. And obviously there was that whole, a few years ago, we had the whole ISIS situation and all that shit. But
honestly,
I don't think that would really play into it.
I don't think they're going to look at me and like say I'm a Muslim because of all the tattoos and everything. Like, that's the last thing that's going to go through their head.
Yeah, but that's exactly what someone that wouldn't want you to think they're a Muslim.
Especially me with a gun tattooed on me. It's probably
Yeah,
the
but
first thing
think
they're
about this. Think about this. Like, what if it's just like grandmas that smuggle drugs through Mexico. You would never suspect them. But the abuelas smuggle, dude. They smuggle.
They do. I think everybody has different experiences going through immigration or even these quote unquote random checks that they used to do. Because even myself, I remember post September 11th, even as a kid, my father and we had to take a flight to New York. And then from New York, we flew back to Orlando, and the TSA must have stopped us like 6 times.
Jeez.
And they said that, hey, this is a random check, but it was our last name, Moby John.
Yeah.
Right. And I think based off of our last name, they randomly wanted to check us at every point. And I'm like 12 years old at the time, maybe 13 years old. And I'm like, and even then I'm like, this is not random.
Papa,
Yeah.
what's going on, Papa?
Yeah. That like,
Is this
why,
normal?
yeah. Why do they keep on stopping us?
How the do I get randomly selected going in?
Random,
Yeah,
quote random.
Quote,
Yo,
unquote,
I've
random.
never been randomly selected. Just putting it out there. Never.
I'm actually pretty surprised by that.
Well, that's
so
because he
am I.
hasn't been here long enough.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the stop and kiss policy?
What?
What?
I
No, remember-
got arrested for doing that one. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, never mind.
Oh God.
No. So there was I don't know. You know the Onion, right?
Yeah.
So remember, like when 9/11 happened, they had the stop and frisk policy.
Yeah.
So the Onion came up with like a video. It was like making fun of the stop and frisk policy.
Oh,
Look
stop
it
and
up and
kiss.
add it. But stop and kiss, it was like where the cops would literally like it was a parody video, but the cops would like stop like thug looking guys in New York and like say, all right, spread them or whatever and start feeling them up and then just kiss them. It was hilarious, dude. You got to play the video, dude.
I'm going to put it on screen.
But so speaking of, kissing and forcing it on another person,
Oh,
let's talk about
God,
our favorite
Mike.
Irishman, Conor
Conor
McGregor.
McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
What did you, so in the news, McGregor got hit with, this was such bullshit when I heard too, because we literally just did an episode on how we just got like $980,000 for someone that was in an accident. this lady sued Conor McGregor for sexual assault. She was according to what she said, is she knew McGregor from when she was younger. She was texting him, met up with him at a hotel with him and a friend, and then her and her friend, she says the friend had consensual sex with the other guy, and McGregor kind of like forced her to have sex. And even, I believe, part of what I remember is he put her in a headlock and was like, hey, now you know how it feels for me to be in a headlock in the cage or some shit.
What?
And yeah, but I was listening to something on Law and Crime, and they were saying how she had a bunch of bruising, stuff like that. But then McGregor said obviously it was consensual. And then she brought a civil suit. I believe it was in Ireland. And guess how much she was awarded?
How much?
$10K.
$230,000.
It was like $250K.
Yeah.
That's actually not bad. I'd take that.
I got someone $980,000 for an accident. If like that, but that's the craziest.
Yeah.
But to interject, and you could explain this more, he wasn't found guilty. He was found liable.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? Found liable. What does that mean?
So, and they addressed that too. So in Ireland, the police chose not to pursue criminal charges against him, but she still sued him civilly. And, you know, same concept is in the US is, I believe, I don't know if it's the same concept over there, but I'm assuming so. There's the criminal system where you can the penalty is going to jail, versus the civil system, which is what we kind of do, where the penalty is paying a fine or paying money. So like, I think that's what happened in their situation. It was like, you know, she still chose to pursue him civilly and hold him responsible for the rape. But I mean, look, you're an Irish, you lived in Ireland, you know what the hell, I'm assuming have a stance on McGregor. Do you think he did it?
I thought you were going to say you have experience. I was like, I've never been in this
I'm not
situation.
a raper.
No, not yet.
Not yet. We're just going downhill.
I'm only joking.
Okay.
So what was the question?
Do you think McGregor did it?
1,000,000,000% yes.
Why so?
He's a scumbag. That's why he did it. I'm telling you, he did it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why he did it. He did it. Fucking did it. All right.
Why do you have that opinion on him?
Because I know people like him from Ireland, like people that had no jobs. They were on the social payment, getting the weekly payments, didn't have money for rent or whatever, right? And then he just blows up. His net worth's like 180 million.
Yeah.
Going from like nothing in Ireland to like a superstar. Like not like everyone knows his name.
Yeah.
Like obviously he's gonna lose his mind. So obviously like he's on coke, he's drinking, obviously he raped people.
Well, and that's what they were saying.
And that's that power play. Like once you get that power, that celebrity status, you're like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And that's what he did.
Well, I think a lot of people suffer from that. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, 100%.
Diddy.
I'm not into celebrities anymore. Like I don't have, my favorite stars or any, because they're all pedos. They're all Drake, Leonardo DiCaprio. They're all
Drake.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so it's been going on the past few days. Drake filing a lawsuit.
Can I just call him outright? I'll fight him. I will physically fight Drake right now. I'm serious.
Okay.
Without gloves.
That's the Irish.
So
that's
to give
the
people
fighting Irish right there.
to give people context before we let Naz go in. So we let Naz go in on Drake. Drake filed a lawsuit against Kendrick because
against Universal Music Group
against
and
Universal Music Group and Spotify for promoting Kendrick, for offering discounts to these streaming platforms in order to blow up the hit song "Not Like Us," which was inundating radio waves. Drake already has a lot of negative perceptions around him, and Naz, now you can go in. So.
I just feel like Drake's like a little girl. Like I can't get behind him being like a big gangster and everything that he raps about, but then he like his actions are like that. Like it doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? And it pisses me off that there's grown men that like him. You know, like diehard fans, and I'm like, dude, come on.
So like I remember when Drake started like blowing up, and I mean every artist has their hot streak, right? We were talking earlier, Akon, you had T-Pain, all these guys, and there's a stretch.
Coney 2012. Do you know Coney?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he had a big
2012.
blow up as well.
But that's
He wasn't a singer. He was.
Yeah, it was like a political movement.
Political
He was a
movement,
terrorist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? The biggest thing that I think is like Drake. I think before he genuinely did make pretty decent music.
Yeah.
But now I believe like I agree with you per se. After hearing all this like pedophile shit, like I was jokingly looking back, and you look at some of the lyrics and you see some of the shit he does, and it's like
It's a bit creepy, isn't it?
little
Yeah,
weird.
he's
you
like
know?
that creepy uncle.
Well, he was.
Definitely.
Remember the girl from Stranger Things,
Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah,
He was texting her, and she was talking about like when she was under 18 that they would text all the time, and everyone thought it was really weird that they were so close. But it's just like, you can't get that. You can't really like throw anything that far without hitting someone in Hollywood who's doing something wrong. Like
Apparently, he stopped texting her because her name was 11, not her age. So he was like, I don't want to pursue this anymore.
Was a good one.
No, but I mean, look. Here's the thing, right? Like, yeah, look.
she's married now. She's
Is
like,
she?
yeah, she's married to Bon Jovi's son.
Oh, shit.
John Bon
Didn't even
Jovi's
know
son.
he had a son. Holy,
There you
that's
go.
crazy.
The craziest thing is with that whole situation. It's like, number one, you are an adult. Why are you texting a kid?
Yeah.
And it's like I could understand if she's like a musician and he's trying to help further her career, but even that's a little weird. Like,
But that's not the case.
I wouldn't if I'm an adult. If I have a situation where my kid is being mentored by an adult and I want that person to text me, like, there's no reason you should be texting a kid. Look, a kid can't enter into contracts. A kid is a minor. Like, kids aren't allowed to do that sort of shit. So there's no reason an adult should be interacting in an adult manner with a child about anything
100%.
per se. So, with that being said, like, I do think it's a little weird. Now, do I think this whole lawsuit, right? He is suing. Remember a few episodes ago, we talked about whether or not, bringing a lawsuit actually counters, the negative publicity you're getting. Now, he didn't sue Kendrick Lamar for calling him a pedophile. He sued, did he sue Kendrick Lamar?
No, so he's suing Universal Music Group and Spotify for promoting his song, and he's adding a defamation count for them allowing him to put out a song or promoting a song that
Yes.
calls him a pedophile or someone who engages with minors.
Yes. So now here's the question. Now that, like, my argument for the Meek Mill situation was because he did not sue, it furthered me thinking that
Why
he
do we
got
have to
his
go back
cheeks
to the
slapped.
Meek Mill situation?
Listen, Meek and Diddy are an item, and they're always going to be on this episode.
They're always going to be intertwined in some way.
and Kanye somehow. I like Kanye.
I think that's okay. So I think if you compare the two situations, I think for I'm going to go back to the Conor McGregor situation. I think her suing him for a smaller amount shows me more so that she was okay with just getting justice, and like whatever money she got out of it, supposedly, right? Just a way of thinking. Versus Drake suing Universal Music Group and Spotify just seems like you can just tell that Kendrick is still getting under his skin and it's still bothering him. Whereas like he could have just let it go and like play it cool, but Drake doesn't know how to play it cool. That's why he lost.
Yeah, but I really do think, but it. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Kendrick Lamar song. I'm not a Kendrick fan.
It's a bop.
But
Which
for
one is
me,
Not like us.
Not like us. Yeah.
Oh,
for me, like I didn't like. I prefer different types of beats, I guess. But,
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it was a bad song. But the fact that got out there, it makes me like question whether or not I want to listen to a Drake song. So
Exactly.
I think Drake's analytics definitely started dipping, and like, look, he's feeling the repercussions of it.
Well, ultimately with hip hop, from just from like a macro perspective, especially with the male artist, it has a lot to deal with like masculinity, right? So Drake, like Naz was saying, He's always seen as somebody who is maybe a bit more feminine. He's coming from a background being like a child actor on a show like Degrassi, and then coming through hip hop and just inundating our airwaves for like the past decade. You can't take that away from him. But I think over time, like we've been talking about prior, people take advantage of the power that they're given. And with all of the money that he's had, he's put himself in all of these situations where we do now have negative perceptions around him. And the fact that he would even file that lawsuit just showcases like how fragile his ego is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like that he's that embarrassed.
But does it in any way make you think that because he's calling them out for purportedly calling him a pedophile, does it make you feel like he's not a pedophile?
No, because I think he's a hypocrite, because in his diss tracks, he was questioning the paternity of Kendrick Lamar's children. He was saying that, he was talking shit about Kendrick's wife, like I think like cheating on him and all this
while he wasn't acknowledging his own children.
While he didn't even acknowledge his own child until his what's his son's name? Adonis. Until Adonis was like 2 years old, right? And I think the woman that he had the like child with, she was like a porn star. And I'm not trying to pass judgment, right? But of course,
big booty.
Yeah. So of course, he's trying to keep it. He's trying to keep that under wraps.
BBL
how do you know? How do you know she has a big?
I googled it.
Oh, you googled it.
Yeah, he's a hypocrite, man. Yeah. Just in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, look. No matter, I think this is the Hollywood machine moving, right? It props up certain people, and there.
But why does it always happen in Hollywood though? Like, isn't that weird? Like, it's always Holly, like you don't hear about like Mongolian throat singers getting famous and kids.
Well, I mean, I never would have thought of that.
It's only
it also happens. This is f***ed up, but the Catholic Church.
They do it for religious reasons, so it's okay.
It's all positions of power. The more eyes you have on you, the more power you have, the more influence you have, the more you feel this.
You can get away with shit.
Yes,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. In I don't know, man. I mean, I think the best thing that I think that's come out of the past few years is
COVID.
Yeah, I mean, COVID has a lot to do with it, though, because you know what? People went from being out and about. I remember I used to go before COVID. I mean, me and Josh, like when we were younger, we'd go to the movies. I'd go to the movies every week. Now, you can't pay me to go to a movie theater. Number one, I think like in my house, I have a better setup than most movie theaters because they're out there now. But more importantly, like I'm just so used to it. So I think when COVID happened, it really introduced people to like consuming online content. But what I was saying is like it really exposed the media. It exposed like the mainstream streams of like content to what real people like you and I are doing. And now people are starting to see that like legacy media and like people that like Hollywood props, they're fake as like you've got these Hollywood celebrities that are out here saying you need to do this for climate change, stop driving cars, do this, but they're literally driving to these rallies and flying to these rallies on private
what's Taylor Swift. Yes, that.
Well, Naz asked a great question earlier, because a lot of people do ask that, like, why does Hollywood have like a lot of these negative connotations? Why do people always talk about Hollywood? Well, the reality is that almost every major production and all of the legacy media that you talk about is based out of one specific area in California, right? And that's where everything is being produced. Now, COVID, excellent point. I'm glad we circled around to that, because from my perception, especially watching the news, Mike's talked about this positive cultural shift, like people waking up. But from my perception, when I was watching the news, I was seeing that lockdowns in Europe were also going way overboard. And this was somebody, and this was somebody that during the pandemic, I was in Los Angeles, I was in New York City, where the streets were dead. How was COVID in the UK?
Better than the US. Much better.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you?
Oh
like,
yeah, much better.
Were you guys like out and about and hanging out?
Yeah. I mean, I had COVID and I was out looking for a job.
Jeez.
And they were calling me. They were like, "Are you sure you're home?" And I'm like, "There's buses going by BP." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm home. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, no, they
I don't think he means good in the way that you guys are trying to say.
he should have been in Florida a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, 100. I should have been born here.
Yeah,
Honest to
baby.
God. I'd be
No,
like
man.
one of them wife-beating rednecks.
Oh.
They just-
We do not promote.
I'm half of those things. I'm a wife beater, not a redneck yet. I'm only joking.
No, they like look, I remember during COVID, right? They had the lockdown with the beach, right? Where it was the dumbest shit, right? Everyone got pissed at Floridians because, you know, the moment they locked everything down, everyone was in Florida was on boats, on the beach, sandbarring, and literally they passed some stupid like ordinance where they were like, "Oh, you can only have 6 people in your group at the beach." I remember I went to the beach and literally someone came up. We had like 20 people with us. It's all family members. Literally, we drove in the same goddamn car. And they're literally like, only 6 people allowed. We moved literally 6 foot over from one another. And we just basically put a table between us and played beard pong between. I'm like, this is the dumbest ever. Like COVID just didn't make sense.
No, it didn't. I mean, I think that they were willing to destroy the economy.
It was a Chinese.
Yeah, they were willing. they were willing to. Now we know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that. But like
That's
you know,
soup.
but they were willing to destroy the economy to just kind of keep people not locked down and to feed them this narrative. And that was what opened my eyes, like especially when I was in New York City.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do anything. Like you would go to Times Square, and I'm not even exaggerating, you know, because I would go in, I would ride the subway. I was the only rider on the subway. I'd go to Times Square, and I have all of these photos documented. 42nd Street, 59th Street, like all of like these major areas of Midtown Manhattan, not one person
Completely
on the
empty.
streets, completely
Wow.
empty. So it was insane, man.
Dude, that's something-
Chinatown was dead too. Like, I
That's
mean, just
crazy.
every area of New York
But
City was.
They're
Well,
run
I mean,
off.
they should that place should
Yeah,
be
yeah.
closed.
yeah.
Oh, it's our fault. Run.
But I was so mad when all the takeout restaurants were closed for so long. That was when I
Well,
was
they had to
fat.
stay home too, Mike.
No, like literally, this is when we had the all the restaurants were opening back. Like all of the actual restaurants were open back, and literally none of the takeout restaurants open. I was really upset. Dude, I love chicken wings and fried rice.
Well, I mean, but in Florida, things opened up a lot sooner than
Josh,
other
don't
places.
look at me like that.
Yeah, and here you are talking about a Chinese place too.
I mean, I was happy about it. Wait, what?
What?
No, because you guys you're everyone's blaming China, and then the Chinese.
I
Chi-
didn't-
yeah,
listen,
they're-
And then the Chinese takeout place is closed.
They're
so.
secretive, man. I don't like them.
It's the MSG.
They're doing some. No, I
It
like
is
the
the
Chinese,
MSG.
but like, you know, they're doing something back there.
It's the
We
government,
don't.
dude.
Yeah,
It's the
honestly,
government.
bro.
The government screwed up. The government, and realistically, like, look, this is the government. It was government putting people against people, right?
Yeah.
And realistically, it's screwed up. It is what it is. But you know, like, thank God it's over and we can move on with our lives. But I think there's a lot of good that came out of it. There's a lot of things that were exposed when it came to how people now look at government intervention into your life.
Last thing, you know, Naz, what do you know now that you're in the U.S.? You know, we know what an incredible cook you are from quite a few dishes that you've made. What are you up to now, man? Like, I know you're now involved in real estate, and how has that experience been for you so far in Florida?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I had zero experience about the industry. Got into it through a friend of a friend, and yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the people that I met so far, the day-to-day operations, it's amazing. I love it. You know, I'm a people person. I love talking to people. I love helping people, and if I can help people find their first homes, make some new memories, then I'm there for it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. it's a great experience, man. The real estate industry is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You know, that's another episode. Naz, thanks for
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming
Thank you.
on,
Thank
man.
you very much.
I really, really appreciate your time.
What were we calling him? A curry potato?
We were calling him a curry potato.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's an actual dish. That's curried potatoes. Yes.
And do you know how to make that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna hold him to it. The curry potato is gonna make us curry potato. So, thanks for tuning in to another episode. If you like what you see, please subscribe. If you have any comments, please leave them below. And until next time.
peace.
Thank you.